Chapter 70. Don't even think about it. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After hearing Chu Yuqin's words, Lu Chen naturally knew what she was talking about. Lu Chen then said with a look of helplessness, "Aunt Chu, I am a man. Any man with a strong heart cannot remain indifferent with a beautiful woman in his arms." Chu Yuqin became even more panicked when she heard that Lu Chen praised her as a great beauty. Although she forced herself to calm down just now, for some reason, she started to become agitated again. Chu Yuqin emphasized again, "I am your aunt. You are not allowed to have any inappropriate thoughts about me," Lu Chen said calmly. "Aunt Chu, we are not related by blood. Besides, you are only about 11 years older than me." Hearing this, Chu Yuqin was stunned for a moment. Lu Chen was telling the truth. They did not have any blood relationship. At most, she was just married to Lu Chen's mother, and the difference of 11 years seems to be a big difference, but when those men married wives, some in their 70s or 80s still married teenage girls. This age actually didn't mean anything at all. If you think so, it seems that there is nothing inappropriate between the two of them. Chu Yuqin's brain was stunned at this moment, and she quickly stopped her random thoughts. How could she have such an idea? She is a married woman. She is a widow now. And Chen is a prince. How can a prince marry a widow? Thinking of this, Chu Yuqin immediately said, "Chen, I don't care what you say, anyway, you just can't have thoughts about auntie. If sister Yu knows that I lied to her about her son's body, how will I face it after I die?" Hearing Chu Yuqin's words, Lu Chen smiled and said, "Then just let me lie to you." Chu Yuqin snorted lightly and said, "Don't even think about it." Hearing Chu Yuqin's words, Lu Chen smiled slightly. Although Chu Yuqin spoke so toughly, he could already tell that Chu Yuqin's inner defenses had loosened. If she had a few more close contacts, Chu Yuqin would completely fall. After an unknown amount of time, Chu Yuqin asked in a gentle tone, "Chen, are you feeling better?" Lu Chen said, "Well, is my dantian better? I don't have that feeling of poor airflow anymore, but I feel very uncomfortable in other places." Hearing this, Chu Yuqin instantly understood what Lu Chen was talking about. She spat and cursed, "You little rascal, don't think that I don't know what you are thinking. You should look to Mu Zixuan for any other problems with your body. Solve it." Having said this, Chu Yuqin slowly pushed Lu Chen away, then took a few steps back to distance herself from him. "Chen, since you're fine, I'll leave first." Lu Chen said, "Okay." Lu Chen felt that it was almost done. This kind of thing still needed to be done step by step and could not be done forcefully. Then Chu Yuqin turned around and walked towards the door. Seeing Chu Yuqin's charming figure, Lu Chen felt that he couldn't control it. Then he immediately went to Mu Zixuan's yard and picked up Mu Zixuan. Went to the next room to cultivate feelings. The next morning, early in the morning, before Lu Chen got up, important officials from Beijing came to the palace. County Governor Li Rui felt a little puzzled when he saw the armored generals and lieutenants on the palace's martial arts training ground. Why did the palace summon them at this time? After Bei Wang came to Beijing, he never took care of Beijing's affairs. Every time he came to report to Bei Wang would find an excuse to send him away. This seems to be the first time that King Bei has summoned them to the palace. Is it possible that King Bei is planning to take over the affairs of Beijing? Thinking of this, Li Rui felt a little nervous. He was not sure whether King Bei would make any major policy adjustments. If King Bei really wanted to carry out reforms, then for him as a county governor, the workload would probably increase significantly. Of course, this is not what Li Rui is most worried about. What he is most worried about is that in order to find someone to cooperate with the reform, King Bei gave up his position as county guard and replaced him with someone close to King Bei. Thinking of this, Li Rui immediately came to Li Feng and asked in a low voice, "General Li, do you know why the prince came to us?" Li Feng shook his head and said, "I just received the news from the prince, and I don't know why he came to us." Hearing Li Feng's words, Li Rui became even more worried. Even Li Feng, an important general around the northern king, didn't know what it was. It must be a big deal. At this time, a middle-aged man wearing armor led two young men into the martial arts training ground. Seeing that man, Li Feng and the soldiers who had followed Lu Chen to Beijing were stunned. Li Feng immediately walked towards the man. When he walked in front of the man, Li Feng was about to salute, but the man directly lifted his arm. Li Feng looked at Mu Changtian and asked with confusion, "General Mu, why are you here in Beijun?" Hearing what Li Feng said, Mu Changtian smiled and corrected him, "General Li, you got the wrong person. My surname is Mo, not Mu." Hearing what Mu Changtian said, Li Feng instantly realized that something had happened in the capital. As Mu Changtian's subordinate, how could he not know Mu Changtian and his two sons? Li Feng finally understood why Mu Changtian wanted them to follow the northern king in the first place. From the looks of it, the Huban army might have been disbanded and reorganized. Li Feng then said, "General Mo, what happened in the capital?" Mu Changtian replied, "The Duke of Mu was suspected of colluding with the remnants of the Chen kingdom and was exiled by His Majesty. Our Mo family also suffered. We were assassinated by thieves on the way to exile. Fortunately, the prince sent someone to rescue us and brought us to Beijun." Hearing Mu Changtian's words, Li Feng's brain froze. He also discovered the changes in the palace during this period. Recently, there were many ninth-grade masters in the palace, and there was even a person who was suspected of being a master. Li Feng had long realized that King Bei was not simple, so Li Feng didn't find it strange that King Bei was able to send people to rescue Mu Changtian. He just couldn't believe that King Bei had such courage. There is a difference between being able to save someone and daring to save someone. Some people have the ability to save others, but they may not have the courage to save others. The Duke of Mu was eliminated because of the conflict with the emperor, but King Bei still dared to save the Duke of Mu and his family under such circumstances. This shows how courageous the North King is. If it were any other prince, he would never dare to have contact with Duke Mu's mansion for fear of being implicated. Li Feng thought to himself, could it be that the Northern King came to them today because of General Mu? Just as Li Feng was thinking this, a maid from the palace came over and said to everyone, "The prince asked you to go to his study and wait." After hearing this, everyone immediately walked towards Lu Chen's study. After Lu Chen got up, he had a simple breakfast and then went to the study. At this time, everyone in the study was still guessing why King Bei was looking for them. At this time, King Bei's figure appeared at the door, and everyone immediately saluted and said, "See King Bei." Lu Chen waved his hand to signal them to excuse themselves, then he walked straight to his desk and opened a map on the table. Li Rui was the first to ask, "Your Majesty, I wonder why you summoned us today." Chapter 71. Do you want to ask the court for help? You are listening at novelfull.audio. After hearing Li Rui's question, Lu Chen did not answer directly. He glanced at Qin Yushan in the crowd, and then said, "Commander Qin, please tell me." Hearing Lu Chen's words, everyone's eyes fell on Qin Yushan. Li Rui and others were a little curious. "Commander, what position is this? Since when did the palace have such a position?" Qin Yushan walked out of the crowd at this time and came to Lu Chen's table. He first saluted and said, "Yes, Your Majesty." Afterwards, Qin Yushan said to everyone, "Our people intercepted the summoning order of the barbarians on the grassland. The barbarians are preparing to summon 300,000 cavalry to go south, capture Beijun, and then establish a country in Beijun and use Yanqing as their capital." After hearing Qin Yushan's words, everyone's expressions changed instantly. The barbarians have always been the biggest threat to Beijun. The reason why Beijun is so poor is because the barbarians go south to plunder from time to time. Unexpectedly, this time the barbarians stopped coming to rob, and instead directly occupied Beijun, and even established a country in Beijun. For a moment, everyone in the study was extremely panicked, especially Li Rui. The reason why he was able to become the county guard was because the previous county guards were killed by the barbarians, otherwise it would not have been his turn to be the county guard. He originally thought he could live a stable life for a few days, but he didn't expect that just over a year later, the barbarians would go south again, and it's not an ordinary robbery. If it's just a robbery of food, Li Rui is not so worried, because the barbarians will only steal food in several other cities north of Yanqing, and rarely come to cities further south like Yanqing. After coming back to his senses, Li Rui quickly asked, Commander Qin, is your information accurate? That the barbarians going south is a big deal, let alone the 300,000 cavalry going south to attack Beijun. This matter must be reported to the imperial court, and it will be reported to the imperial court immediately. In the eyes of everyone, the 30,000 soldiers of Beijun were like mantises in front of the 300,000 barbarian cavalry. They could only resist the barbarians with the help of the imperial army. In fact, every time Beijun resisted barbarian invasion, it relied on the imperial army. Beijun's 30,000 soldiers were just to deal with some small fish and shrimps, Qin Yushan said at this time. The intelligence we collected has been verified. Our people infiltrated into the barbarian royal court and got the news personally from a certain barbarian king. Hearing Qin Yushan's words, everyone had expressions of disbelief on their faces. Who is this Qin commander next to the prince? How could the prince's people sneak into the barbarian royal court? At this time, Li Rui suddenly woke up. He had always thought that Lu Chen was a lazy prince who was idle and didn't care about anything. Now he understood that all of this was just done by King Bei to show others. The king of Bei has long had a power that belongs to him in private, and this power has penetrated into various places in Beijun, and has even penetrated into the barbarians. Thinking of this, Li Rui broke out in cold sweat on his forehead. Fortunately, when King Bei came to Beijun, he didn't cause any obstacles for King Bei, otherwise, let alone Wu Shamao. I'm afraid I don't even know whether he is alive or not. At this time, Mu Changtian asked, My lord, what are you going to do? Do you want to ask the court for help? 30,000 versus 300,000, there is no chance of winning at all. The imperial court must send a large army, otherwise North County will not be protected, Lu Chun said. I plan to send someone to tell the court the news later. However, it will take at least 3 months for the court to assemble an army. The barbarians can complete the assembly in about 2 months. We still need to guard Beijun for a while. Although Lu Chen was confident that he would let 30,000 soldiers defend Beijun and eat the barbarians' 300,000 cavalry, this kind of thing must be notified to the court. After all, Beijun was nominally the territory of the Great Xia Dynasty. If a foreign enemy invades and does not notify the court, no matter whether the battle is won or defeated, the court will think that he has rebellious intentions, and he does not even notify the court of such an important matter. However, Daxia's army was not assembled as quickly as the barbarians. It would take at least 2 or 3 months to mobilize the army. There is a saying that before the soldiers and horses move, food and grass go first. Daxia's army is definitely not as fast as the barbarian cavalry. What's more, this is in Beijun. The roads in Beijun are extremely bad. It will take more time for Daxia to mobilize the army. After hearing Lu Chen's words, Li Rui's face became even paler. If the barbarians go south, they may be able to occupy the entire North County in less than a month, and it will take such a long time for the Daxia army to gather. By the time the Daxia army comes, all their 30,000 soldiers will be dead. I can't even imagine what will happen to Yanqing by that time. Lu Chen continued, this king plans to evacuate all the people north of Yanqing to the south of Yanqing, and then concentrate all forces to hold back the barbarian army of 300,000 in Yanqing. General Mo, you have fought against the barbarian army before. I wonder what you think of this idea. Hearing Lu Chen's question, Mu Changtian was stunned for a second, and he frowned slightly. Then he took a look at the map, and then asked, there is no problem with the strong walls and clear fields, but if all the people north of Yanqing are evacuated, the barbarian army will march straight into Yanqing. 30,000 soldiers want to defend Yanqing. Disaster. Mu Changtian knew very well the strength of the barbarian cavalry. Most of the barbarian cavalry were elites. It was basically impossible for 30,000 soldiers to hold back 300,000 cavalry. Lu Chen continued, what if I have a weapon in my hand that can instantly break the cavalry square? Hearing Lu Chen's words, Li Feng and others' eyes instantly lit up. Those of them who have followed Bei Wang from the beginning know very well that Bei King has some mysterious weapons on his body, such as the exploding stones and the black stick that can kill 9th-level warriors instantly. Now there are rumors in the army that King Bei has received the inheritance from the immortal. As for whether it has the inheritance of the immortals, it doesn't matter, as long as the North King has weapons that can destroy the barbarians, or such weapons can be manufactured on a large scale. Mu Changtian was about to ask Lu Chen what kind of weapon he was, but Lu Chen looked at the map and continued to ask, General Mo, I plan to lead the barbarian cavalry to the Wanyun River Valley, and then ambush them on the high ground of the river valley. I don't know what you are doing. I don't think this plan is feasible. After all, Mu Changtian had fought against the barbarians several times, and he knew the situation of the barbarians best, so Lu Chen wanted to ask his opinion. Professional matters should be left to professionals. After hearing what Lu Chen said, Mu Changtian looked at the map on the table seriously, but he did not answer immediately. After a while, Mu Changkai said, "If the prince is in Yancheng, it will not be difficult to lead the barbarian cavalry to the Wanyun Valley. The terrain of the Wanyun Valley is relatively flat, making it easier for the barbarian cavalry to go south and go straight to Yancheng. It's just that, Your Majesty, if we set up an ambush in the Wanyun Valley, there will be only 30,000 people, and I'm afraid they won't be able to stop the charge of the barbarian cavalry. There are highlands on both sides of the Wanyun River Valley and a flat plain in front. Even if the barbarian cavalry is ambushed in the Wanyun River Valley, others can quickly pass through the Wanyun River Valley as long as they speed up. The Wanyun River Valley is not very long. If you want to resist the charge of the barbarian cavalry in front, it is unlikely that there are not 100,000 people. What's more, Beijun's 30,000 soldiers have to set up ambushes on the highlands on both sides. By then, there will not even be 30,000 soldiers facing them head-on." Chapter 72 I Want Him to Be My Slave. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After listening to Mu Changtian's words, Lu Chen looked at the map and fell into deep thought again. This is indeed a problem. The Wanyun River Valley is not long, and it is not a big problem for the barbarian cavalry to pass quickly. Once howitzers are used, the barbarian cavalry will inevitably be in chaos. They will either rush forward or retreat back. No matter whether the barbarian cavalry charges forward or retreats, they still need a large number of soldiers to resist the barbarian cavalry. Of course, if they just plan to repel the barbarian soldiers, then they only need to hold the front of the Wanyun Valley. However, Lu Chen had great ambitions. He didn't just want to fight off the barbarian cavalry. If we just repel the barbarian cavalry, those barbarian cavalry will not be able to capture Yancheng and will probably attack other cities. What he wants most in this battle is to eliminate the effective strength of the barbarians, so that the barbarians can no longer gather their forces to go south for a long time. Therefore, these 300,000 people absolutely cannot be put back. If this was put back, after the barbarian soldiers calmed down, they would go south to plunder again. Lu Chen didn't think the howitzer could completely frighten them. Lu Chen had also heard about the situation in the north. When winter came, many people would starve to death even in the North County, let alone the barbarians on the grassland. Lu Chen was not sympathizing with the barbarians, but in his opinion, people could do anything when they were about to starve to death, and it was impossible for the barbarians to not dare to go south just because there were howitzers in Beijun. Lu Chen sighed and said, "Hurry up and recruit troops." After hearing this, Mu Changtian still said with some worry, "My lord, in such a short period of time, it will be very difficult to train the new soldiers to be able to fight against the barbarian cavalry." What Mu Changtian said was a bit conservative. It was simply impossible to train soldiers to be able to fight against barbarian cavalry within 2 months. Lu Chen naturally understood this truth, and he immediately said, "I plan to create an artillery battalion. The newly recruited soldiers will not participate in frontal combat. By then, all 30,000 soldiers in Beijun will be able to enter the frontal battlefield." Artillery battalion? What it is? Everyone was confused when they heard the new term coming out of Lu Chen's mouth. They had never heard of an artillery battalion. Lu Chen looked at Li Rui and said, "Chief Li, this is a problem for you. You must cooperate with General Li and the others to recruit 10,000 new soldiers as soon as possible." Hearing Lu Chen's words, Li Rui immediately said, "Yes, Your Majesty." Li Rui sighed inwardly. He originally wanted to persuade King Bei to withdraw south, but judging from King Bei's tone, others had no idea of evacuating south. If he proposed to withdraw to the south at this time, wouldn't he offend the northern king? Li Rui couldn't help but think about the use of recruiting 10,000 more soldiers. Let alone 10,000 soldiers, even if he recruited 100,000 more new soldiers, there would be no way to stop the barbarian cavalry. Although he thought so in his heart, Li Rui did not dare to say it directly. After all, the king of Bei was the vassal king, and he was the master of Beijun. At this time, Lu Chen looked at the map on the table and said, "After the artillery battalion is established, I will show you the new weapons of the North Palace." After hearing this, everyone became even more curious. King Bei seemed to be very confident in the new weapons he mentioned. They wondered what kind of new weapons gave King Bei the courage to fight the barbarian army in Yancheng. Although he was curious, he did not continue to ask. The northern king had already said that he would show it to them, so the main task now was to seize the time to recruit soldiers and form a new army as soon as possible. In the north, the barbarian royal court, on the endless grassland, there are large and small felt tents, also known as yurts. The yurts in the middle become larger in area. The largest yurt is where one of the barbarian kings lives. The barbarians are widely distributed on the grassland, and there are 7 kings in total. Located due north of Beijun is the serious king, the barbarian king who is preparing to attack Beijun and establish a country in Beijun. At this time, a woman wearing animal skins rode a horse into the middle of the Ger community. The woman has fair skin and a beautiful and delicate face. She does not look like she lives on the grassland at all. After she got off the horse, she immediately asked her slave, "Is Wu Yuan back?" That the slave holding the horse next to her, who had an inscription on his face, immediately replied, "You are back, your highness." After hearing this, the woman immediately excitedly went to the smaller yurt next to the big yurt. After opening the curtain, she found that the man she was talking about just now was indeed back. At this time, the man named Wu Yuan was kneeling on the ground, reporting some information to a beautiful woman. Inside the yurt, a stunningly beautiful woman was lying half on the bed, exposing her long white legs. The woman was wearing gorgeous plush clothes, and her whole body was covered with glittering jewelry. She looked very charming. She is the most important woman in the barbarian branch of the serious king, and she was also the princess of the previous serious king. According to the custom of the barbarians, after the death of the previous serious king, she will marry the current serious king, but for some reasons, she has never married. But she has promised to the current serious king that if he can defeat Beijun and establish a country in Beijun, she will marry him and become his princess. At this time, the woman who entered the tent saluted and said, "I have met the princess." Although the beautiful woman in front of her has not yet married the current serious king, everyone recognizes her as the princess. Yellow Nanyan glanced at Xiao Wenyao, and then said softly, "Get up." Yellow Nanyan's voice was so gentle that it made people feel like they were bathed in the spring breeze. Xiao Wenyao, the woman who entered the tent, is the daughter of the current serious king Xiao Hongbo. Originally, they did not have a surname, but in order to learn from Daxia, everyone in the serious king's clan now has a surname, and the serious king's royal family takes the surname Xiao. The name Xiao Wenyao was also given to her by Princess Yellow Nanyan not long ago. Yellow Nanyan's attention returned to the man in front of her again, and she asked, "I heard that the vassal king of Beijun was a lecherous person who spent all day having fun in the palace. Since he went to Beijun, I have never interfered in Bei County's affairs, so I don't know if this is really the case." Wu Yuan said, "Hui Wangfei, it is indeed true." Hearing the man's answer, a smile appeared on the corner of Yellow Nanyan's mouth. "So, this time the king marches south, Beijun is within easy reach," that Wu Yuan reminded. "Princess, although the king of the north is just a waste, Daxia's army will not sit idly by and ignore it. Once the king sends troops, Daxia will definitely send an army to the north." Yellow Nanyan said calmly, "By the time the Daxia army arrives, the king has already established a firm foothold in Beijun, and civil strife is about to break out in Daxia, so the Xia emperor does not have so much energy to take care of us." At this time, Xiao Wenyao on the side intervened and said, "Princess, if you can capture the North King after conquering the North County, can you hand him over to me? I heard that the North King is very handsome, and I want him to be mine." Slave. Chapter 73 How handsome is he? You are listening at novelfull.audio. After hearing Xiao Wenyao's words, Yellow Nanyan smiled slightly, and then said, Yao, I'm afraid this won't work. No matter what, he is still the Prince of Daxia. If we catch him, we can use him to make some deals with Daxia. He still has some effects for us." Xiao Wenyao curled her lips and said nothing more. After all, Yellow Nanyan was the princess and had a great say in the serious king clan. the Sirius King's tribe has been able to develop to its current size and possess advanced weapons, all thanks to the leadership of the princess. She actively learned from Xia and secretly bought many people from the Xia Dynasty, and then used these people to continue business and trade with the Xia Dynasty. The Wu Yuan kneeling in front of her was one of them. Under her leadership, the Sirius tribe is no longer weaker than other barbarian branches, and is even stronger. The establishment of a country in Beijun was also an idea put forward by Yellow. She found that the north was getting colder year by year, and the barbarian population was increasing rapidly. Today's grasslands can no longer support such a large barbarian population. In addition, Beijun is getting poorer and poorer. Even if they go to Beijun to grab food, the food they grab will not be enough for their tribe to last for a long time. The best way is to learn from the Xia Dynasty and grow food crops to support a larger population. Moreover, she also found out that there seems to be a kind of food crop in Beijun that can produce thousands of kilograms per acre. If the Sirius King can conquer Beijun and occupy Beijun to establish a country, from now on, their branch will no longer need to live in pursuit of water and grass, and life will also change. Better, the strength and scale of the Sirius King clan are inseparable from Yellownayan's policies. Therefore, she is an irreplaceable existence in the Sirius King clan. Even the current Sirius King Xiao Hongbo respects her. Of course, Yellownayan's status was not there from the beginning. She was only a teenager when she married her predecessor, the Sirius King. However, the previous Sirius King was already an old man at that time. He was paralyzed on the bed and unable to manage the entire group. It was Yellownayan who helped him manage the group. Over time, Yellownayan had a lot of power in his hands. After the death of the Sirius King, there were no heirs. With the mediation of Yellownayan, the Sirius clan elected Xiao Hongba as the new Sirius King. The current Sirius King was selected with the help of Yellownayan, which once again consolidated the power in Yellownayan's hands. Moreover, Yellownayan is a very smart woman. She has given the current Sirius King enough face to let him make his own decisions on all major matters. This way it seems that she has transferred all her power. Even when the Sirius King said that he wanted to marry her, she did not refuse. She just set a goal for the Sirius King and asked him to marry him when he reached the goal. Yellownayan was only a teenager when she married the last Sirius King, and she is still innocent. She cannot remain a widow for the rest of her life for a dead person, so she must marry. In the eyes of the current Sirius King Xiao Hongba, Yellownayan must be his woman, so he also has great trust in her. As for taking Beijun and marrying her, Xiao Hongbo regarded Beijun as a gift to Yellownayan. At this time, Yellownayan looked at Wu Yuan who was kneeling in front of him and continued, "Wu Yuan, you have worked hard to go to Xia to find out the news this time. Go down and have a good rest." Wu Yuan immediately said, "Thank you, princess." As soon as he finished speaking, Wu Yuan stood up and left Yellownayan's yurt. Seeing Wu Yuan getting up and leaving, Xiao Wenyao quickly said, "Princess, I'm leaving first too." Having said this, Xiao Wenyao also turned around and left the yurt. After Xiao Wenyao walked out of the yurt, he quickly said to Wu Yuan, wait a minute. Wu Yuan stopped, turned to look at Xiao Wenyao, and asked respectfully, "Your Highness, do you have anything to do with me?" Xiao Wenyao asked directly, "Have you brought the perfume soap I asked you to bring me?" Wu Yuan smiled and said, "Since it is Her Royal Highness the Princess's order, I will naturally obey it. Those things are still on the carriage. I will go and deliver them to Her Highness the Princess." Xiao Wenyao said, "No, I'll go with you, and you tell me about Xia." I don't know if she was influenced by Yellownayan, but Xiao Wenyao was very interested in all aspects of Xia, and Wu Yuan is from Xia. Every time Wu Yuan comes back from Xia, she will ask Wu Yuan something about Xia. For example, some interesting things happened in Xia recently, or if there was any gossip about the Prince of Xia, she would ask Wu Yuan to find out anything she found interesting. After hearing Xiao Wenyao's words, Wu Yuan said, "Okay, Your Highness, if you have anything you want to know, you can ask me." Then Xiao Wenyao said as he walked, "It is said that the northern king of Xia is very handsome. Is he really handsome? Can you describe to me how handsome he is?" Wu Yuan was stunned when he heard Xiao Wenyao's first question. Wu Yuan thought for a moment and did not answer immediately. Seeing that Wu Yuan did not answer directly, Xiao Wenyao turned to look at Wu Yuan and asked doubtfully, "What's wrong? Why don't you speak?" Wu Yuan thought for a moment and said, "Your Highness, I really don't know how to describe King Bei. If you look at it from the perspective of daxia women, Bei Wang is indeed handsome and extraordinary, but if you look at it from the standards of prairie women when choosing a husband, I'm afraid Bei Wang looks a little thin. He is not a martial artist. He's not physically strong." Hearing Wu Yuan's answer, Xiao Wenyao's eyes suddenly lit up, and then she said, "I don't like men who are too strong. Almost all prairie men are fat and ugly. What's so good about them?" Seeing that Xiao Wenyao seemed to be very interested in King Bei, Wu Yuan continued, "Your Highness, Princess, you should also know that King Bei particularly likes beautiful women. If he meets your Highness, he will definitely be unable to walk. If His Highness is interested in the North King, this time the king goes south to attack Beijun, it may be an opportunity for you." Hearing what Wu Yuan said, Xiao Wenyao sighed, "You heard it just now. The princess said that the North King is still useful. Even if she goes south and captures the North King this time, she will not hand him over to me." Wu Yuan smiled faintly. He originally planned to trick Xiao Wenyao into going directly to Beijun, but after thinking about it, he decided to forget it. Now is a critical period. Doing unnecessary things will arouse suspicion, and then the gain will outweigh the loss. Then Wu Yuan said, "Your Highness, don't worry, you will always have the opportunity to be alone with King Bei." Xiao Wenyao said, "Forget it, let's not talk about this. By the way, do you know how to make perfume and soap? Every time I run out, I have to wait for you to go to daxia to buy it. It's too troublesome. Why don't we do it ourselves?" Wu Yuan said, "I'm sorry, Your Highness, the making methods of perfume and soap are only available in Bei Wang Mansion. They only sell finished products and have not disclosed the making methods of soap and perfume." Hearing Wu Yuan's words, Xiao Wenyao was stunned for a moment. "Bei Wang Fu?" Wu Yuan then added, "Yes, it is said that these two things, perfume and soap, were created by King Bei. Not only that, this time I also brought something called soap to Her Royal Highness the Princess, which is also made by Bei Wang Mansion. The soap is more convenient to use than soap. I guarantee that Her Highness the Princess will like it after using it." Chapter 74 My daughter should not marry the King of North Xian. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After hearing Wu Yuan's words, Xiao Wenyao became even more interested in King Bei. During this period, because her father was going to attack Beijun, she often heard rumors about Bei Wang. This is one of the reasons why Xiao Wenyao suddenly became interested in King Bei. On the one hand, she heard the word Northern King a lot recently, and on the other hand, she wanted a more refined slave, that is, a pretty boy. And what she wanted was that her slave status should not be too low. A slave that was too low would not have a sense of accomplishment in conquering. It happened that King Bei was a useless prince, which gave her an idea. She originally thought that King Bei was just a prince who only knew how to eat, drink and have fun in his mansion. Unexpectedly, after hearing what Wu Yuan said, Xiao Wenyao suddenly realized that King Bei seemed to be of some use. She particularly likes the perfume and soap from Bai Wangfu. When the perfume is applied to her body, she can cover up the fishy smell of the fur, and the soap can wash her body clean. She couldn't live without these two things now. As soon as she heard that these two things were created by Bei Wang, her inner thoughts about catching Bei Wang and turning him into her slave became even stronger. Xiao Wenyao then said, "It turns out that King Bei is not a complete waste." Speaking of this, Xiao Wenyao asked curiously, "By the way, what is soap?" Wu Yuan explained, "Soap is specially used for bathing. After bathing, the fragrance will be left on people's bodies and will not dissipate for a long time." Xiao Wenyao asked, "Isn't this just like perfume?" Wu Yuan said, "Your Highness, perfume can be applied to people at any time, but it cannot clean people's bodies. However, soap is different. Soap can clean the dirt on people's bodies." Xiao Wenyao seemed to understand and said, "It turns out that it is the same as soap." Wu Yuan said speechlessly, "Your Highness, soap is actually used to clean clothes, not for bathing." Xiao Wenyao didn't listen to Wu Yuan's words at all. She said directly, "Whatever, as long as the dirt on the body can be washed away." Seeing that Xiao Wenyao had already said this, Wu Yuan was too lazy to continue correcting anything, as long as she liked it. As the two walked, they came to Wu Yuan's caravan. At this time, Wu Yuan's caravan carriage was filled with various commodities exchanged from Daxia. Ever since Yilu Nanyan bribed Daxia merchants, some caravans in Daxia have often traded with barbarians. At first, they only traded some salt and tea. Gradually, as the commodity transactions became more and more frequent, the barbarians purchased iron directly from Daxia, and later began to trade weapons and armor. The serious kings group can become as powerful as it is today, and it is inseparable from these businessmen in Daxia. Wu Yuan immediately came to a carriage or two, rummaged through the carriages, and then took out a piece of soap and brought it to Xiao Wenyao's front door. Your Highness, this is the soap for bathing. Your Highness, please never use soap to bathe in the future. Soap is not good for the body and can damage the skin. Hearing Wu Yuan's words, Xiao Wenyao curiously took the soap from Wu Yuan's hand. Before she put the soap to her nose, she smelled a scent. Xiao Wenyao quickly put the soap under her nose and smelled it. Then she said in surprise, "It actually has a scent. This King Bei seems to be particularly interested in things used by women. If I can turn him into my slave, he might be able to create more useful women's products for me in the future." Wu Yuan actually wanted to say that this thing could be used by both men and women, but he didn't say much. Just let the innocent princess be happy. At this time, a man came to Xiao Wenyao. Your Highness the Princess, the king has asked you to come over. Hearing this, Xiao Wenyao was stunned for a moment, and then asked, "What does my father want from me?" The man said, "I don't even know, you will know when you go there." Xiao Wenyao then handed the soap to Wu Yuan. "Wu Yuan, send all these things to where I live." Wu Yuan said respectfully, "Okay, your Royal Highness." After Wu Yuan finished speaking, Xiao Wenyao happily came to the royal tent, which is the largest yurt in the Tianlang tribe. Entering the yurt, Xiao Wenyao found that there were many people sitting inside the yurt that she had never seen before. Sitting in the middle is a tall and burly middle-aged man with a bulging head, who is Xiao Wenyao's father, the current serious king Xiao Hongbo. After seeing Xiao Wenyao come in, Xiao Hongbo was about to speak when Xiao Wenyao immediately asked, "Dad, what do you want from me?" Seeing Xiao Wenyao taking the initiative to ask, Xiao Hongbo said without any nonsense, "Yao Yao, you have grown up, and it's time to get married." As soon as these words came out, it was like a bolt from the blue, and Xiao Wenyao was stunned on the spot. It took a long time for Xiao Wenyao to react. She said quickly, "Dad, my daughter is still young. She can't bear to leave her father, and she still wants to continue to accompany her father." Although Xiao Wenyao is a little naive, she is not a fool. People like her can only marry into other tribes and become a tool for marriage. Just look at the princess and you will know that she is married to a bad old man and waits for him to poop and pee every day, but Yilu Nanyan is still one of the better ones. After all, Yilu Nanyan has a lot of power. It was different for other women. Xiao Wenyao still remembered several other women who married the previous serious king, many of whom were tortured to death by the serious king. If King Tianlang was still in good health when Yilu Nanyan married his predecessor, King Tianlang, I'm afraid Yilu Nanyan wouldn't be much better. Xiao Wenyao is very afraid of getting married. Seeing Xiao Wenyao's rejection of marriage, Xiao Hongbo immediately said, "Yao Yao, prairie women must marry when they reach your age. Even though you are the daughter of this king, you are no exception." Hearing Xiao Hongbo's strong tone, Xiao Wenyao knew that no matter what she said, it would be useless. She then had no choice but to say resignedly, "Dad, my daughter knows." The seriousness on Xiao Hongbo's face was instantly wiped away, and then he said with a smile, "Since you agree, then after I go south to capture Beixian, you can marry the king of Beixian and become the princess of Beixian." As soon as these words came out, Xiao Wenyao's face turned pale instantly. The King of North Xian was the king of a barbarian tribe that had recently moved to the north. Nowadays, the barbarians no longer have the rule of the Great Xia and have divided into 7 tribes. Each tribe has its own royal court and its own king. Of course, every tribe actually wants to unify the entire barbarian tribe as before, and Xiao Hongbo is no exception. After he captured Beijun, he planned to establish a country first, then win over the king of Beixian through marriage, and then called himself the Great Xia to make the barbarian tribes surrender to him. Xiao Hongbo is a very ambitious barbarian king. At this time, Xiao Wenyao knelt on the ground with a plop. Dad, my daughter should not marry the king of Bei Xian. Xiao Wenyao also heard who the king of Bei Xian was. The tribe of the king of Bei Xian was different from his own. Because their tribe often communicated with Daxia, many of their habits were already the same as those of Daxia, not to mention how poor the Bei Xian king's tribe was. They even retained the habit of cannibalism, and the Bei Xian king himself was a very cruel person. Xiao Wenyao really couldn't imagine what kind of inhuman treatment she would receive if she married the queen of Bei Xian. Chapter 75. I know a friend of mine can help you. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Although Xiao Wenyao was a princess in the Tianlang tribe and had a relatively high status, it was different when she married into the tribe of Bei Xian king. In barbarian tribes, women's status is generally lower. Xiao Wenyao has a high status in the Tianlang tribe, mainly because she has an father who is the king of the barbarians. The status that Princess Yilu Nanyan achieved today did not happen overnight. She also benefited from the physical discomfort of her predecessor, King Tianlang, and was able to slowly gather some power into her hands. Xiao Wenyao's delicate body could not help but tremble when she thought about how she would be tortured by the North Xian king after marrying into the tribe. Xiao Wenyao continued to cry, Dad, my daughter heard that the previous concubines of King Bei Xian all died unexpectedly. My daughter is still young and she doesn't want to die so early. Hearing Xiao Wenyao's words, Xiao Hongbo was furious. Damn it. King Bei Xian is also a barbarian king after all. He is completely worthy of you. Why are you dissatisfied? That's it. After I capture Beijun, you will marry me. There is no need to discuss this matter. Seeing that her father had made the final decision, Xiao Wenyao instantly got up from the ground and rushed out crying. Xiao Wenyao ran wildly on the grassland. It took an unknown amount of time before she recovered. At this time, Wu Yuan came to Xiao Wenyao and said, Your Highness, what's wrong with you? Wu Yuan was just letting people unload the goods when he suddenly found Xiao Wenyao running out of the king's tent, crying while running. He guessed that there must be some new information, so he hurriedly pretended to comfort Xiao Wenyao and ran to get closer. Xiao Wenyao wiped her tears and said, My father asked me to marry the king of Bei Xian, but I don't want to marry that ogre. Wu Yuan's brain was stunned. King of North Korea. Is it possible that King Tianlang and King Bei Xian will send troops at the same time to attack Beijun this time? Wu Yuan thought for a while and realized that it was indeed impossible for the serious king to gather an army of 300,000 troops if it was just a tribe. Only two barbarian kings joining forces could have an army of 300,000 troops. King Tianlang asked King Bei Xian to help him attack Bei Xian, which would naturally give King Bei Xian some benefits, and I am afraid Xiao Wenyao is one of the benefits. Seeing that Wu Yuan didn't speak, Xiao Wenyao turned to look at Wu Yuan and said, Wu Yuan, can you help me escape to Daxia? I can't marry the king of Bei Xian no matter what. I don't want to die yet. Well, Your Highness Princess, I'm afraid no one will dare to agree to this matter. Wu Yuan was actually struggling in his heart, because he was just a spy, and he didn't know what kind of decisions Beijun and Bei Wang would make. If the daughter of a barbarian king was brought to Beijun or Daxia without authorization, it might cause the barbarians to send troops in advance, which would be extremely unfavorable for Beijun's deployment. Thinking of this, Wu Yuan said, Your Highness, I know that a friend of mine can help you, but I need to ask his opinion. I may not be able to give you an answer until I come back next time. Hearing this, Xiao Wenyao was instantly filled with hope. Wu Yuan, is everything you said true? Can that friend of yours really help me? Wu Yuan said, Well, if he is willing, he will definitely be able to help you. Xiao Wenyao then said, I'm sorry to bother you, when will you leave for Daxia? Wu Yuan replied, Your Highness, I just came back today. I have to rest for 2 days no matter what. Xiao Wenyao said, Oh, okay, then next time you come back, you must tell me your friend's answer as soon as possible. Wu Yuan said, Okay, Your Highness. While the two were talking, a rough man's voice came from behind them. Yao, are you okay? Hearing this, Wu Yuan and Xiao Wenyao turned around at the same time and found that it was Queen Xiaopeng. Wu Yuan immediately said, Your Highness, I will leave first and you can chat. After saying this, Wu Yuan turned back to his carriage and continued to unload the goods. Xiao Pingtian is Xiao Wenyao's uncle and the brother of Xiao Hongbao's original wife, the princess. Originally Xiao Pingtian should not be surnamed Xiao, because Yelu Nanyan stipulated that the surname Xiao was the surname of the royal family, but in order to win over Xiao Pingtian, Xiao Hongbao gave him the surname Xiao. Seeing that it was his uncle, Xiao Wenyao asked, "Uncle, what do you want from me?" Xiao Pingtian sighed and said, "Yao Yao, I have heard about you." Xiao Wenyao was stunned for a moment. Xiao Pingtian continued, "Xiao Hongbao is really going too far. First he killed my sister, and now he wants to marry you to that uncivilized tribe." Hearing Xiao Pingtian's words, Xiao Wenyao instantly extracted the key words. She looked at Xiao Pingtian and immediately asked, "Uncle, what did you just say? Did my father kill my mother?" Xiao Pingtian said angrily, "Who else but him? Your mother has always been in good health. How could she suddenly die suddenly? It was not Xiao Hongbao who killed your mother because he wanted to marry the princess." After hearing these words, Xiao Wenyao suddenly felt that her worldview collapsed. She really couldn't believe that her father could do such a thing. At this time, Xiao Wenyao still had the last glimmer of hope. She continued, "Uncle, these are all your guesses." Seeing that Xiao Wenyao couldn't believe it, Xiao Pingtian sighed again, "Yao Yao, you are still young and don't understand this. Your father has become like the emperors of the Central Plains dynasty. For the power in their hands, they would sacrifice anything, including their own wives and daughters. Okay, let's not talk about this anymore. Don't worry, Yao Yao. I will try my best to persuade your father not to marry you to the king of Xian. If he really doesn't listen, then your uncle will think of other ways." Xiao Wenyao said movedly, "Thank you very much, uncle." Half a month later, Daxia, Beijing, Xianjing Hall. In the court hall, the ministers were discussing some unimportant matters, when suddenly a man's roar came from outside the hall. "Urgent report from the north, barbarians are moving." Hearing this, the ministers who were arguing about some etiquette in the main hall instantly fell silent. Soon, a soldier with 3 red flags on his back entered the hall, knelt down half kneeling, raised the bamboo tube in his hand over his head and said, "Your Majesty, the barbarians are acting strangely, and North County is in danger." The eunuch quickly took the bamboo tube from the messenger soldier's hand, then walked to Emperor Xia, opened the bamboo tube, and handed the information inside to Emperor Xia. Emperor Xia took the parchment in his hand and read the text on it carefully. This was information written by Lu Chen himself. At this time, the Xianjing Hall was extremely quiet. All the ministers were staring at Emperor Xia. The atmosphere in the entire hall was extremely dull. The barbarians have always been a serious problem for Daxia. Daxia has sent troops to fight the barbarians many times, but the result is more losses than wins. Even if Daxia won the battle, the barbarians could take advantage of the cavalry and quickly withdraw from the battlefield, so no matter how hard we fight, Daxia just can't completely eliminate the barbarians. Seeing the letter in which 300,000 barbarian cavalry were about to move south, Emperor Xia's face darkened instantly. The barbarian cavalry didn't come early or late, but they waited until he was about to clean up the family and went south. Chapter 76. How did he know that the barbarians were going south? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Emperor Xia was not a fool. When he saw Lu Chen's letter saying that the barbarian cavalry was about to go south, he realized that this was definitely related to the aristocratic family, and even some of his sons might be involved. As a political veteran, it is not like he has never done this before by introducing foreign enemies and then using them to gain benefits. When the ministers of Xianjing Palace saw Emperor Xia's face so dark, they were all so frightened that they did not dare to breathe. This was the first time they had seen Emperor Xia's face look so ugly this year. After a while, Emperor Xia sneered and said, "The barbarians really know how to choose their time." The tall, thin man standing at the front on the left side of the hall asked, "Your Majesty, I wonder how the situation in Beijing is going." As soon as the man finished speaking, Emperor Xia spoke. A letter came from the King of the North, saying that his people intercepted the summoning order of the barbarians on the grassland. The barbarians planned to gather 300,000 cavalry to go south, occupy Beijun and establish a country, and use Yanqing as their base. Capital. Hearing Emperor Xia's words, the court hall instantly resounded with discussions among the courtiers. 300,000. Oh my God! How come there are so many? Jiang Wo. If the barbarians are allowed to establish their country in Beijun, won't we Daxia always be under the iron cavalry of the barbarians? We can't let the barbarians go south. The barbarians are really ambitious. Daxia will definitely not let them go easily this time. Hearing the discussion of the ministers, Emperor Xia was silent for a long time without speaking. After a while, the 8th Prince Lu Shuyun stood up and said, "Father, I think that King Bei is suspected of lying about the military situation. According to what I know, after King Bei arrived in Beijun, he stayed in the mansion all day long to have fun. Never managed North County at all. How did he know that the barbarians were going south? Besides, the barbarians are further north in Bei County. Even if the barbarians issue a summons order, how could his people intercept the barbarians' summons order, unless his people have already lurked where the barbarians live?" After hearing what the 8th Prince Lu Shuyun said, the ministers reacted one after another. Yes, King Bei is just a lazy good-for-nothing prince. He has not taken care of things since he went to Bei County. How could he send people to lurk into the place where the barbarians live, and then intercept the summons of the barbarians? He doesn't seem like someone who could do such a thing. Could it be that King Bei really lied about military information? At this time, Prime Ministers Wu Lin Gaoyuan asked, "8th Prince, you said that King Bei lied about military information. In addition to inferring from King Bei's behavior, is there any other evidence?" Hearing this, Lu Shuyun was stunned for a moment, then Lu Shuyun continued, "Prime Minister Lin, isn't this enough? Do you think the King of the North really sent people to where the barbarians live?" Lin Gaoyuan said calmly, "Xiaoguan doesn't know whether the Northern King sent anyone to the north where the barbarians live. The lower official only knows that the Northern King sent a red silk messenger to deliver the message. In the Great Xia Dynasty, the red damask courier represented the most urgent military situation, and the red damask courier could not be sent out at any time. In Lin Gaoyuan's view, no matter how stupid Bei Wang is, it is impossible not to know the meaning of Hongling messenger. As for lying about military information, King Bei couldn't bear the punishment of lying about military information. If King Bei is really a good-for-nothing prince, how dare he, a prince who spends all day having fun in his mansion, to lie about the military situation? Aren't you afraid that Emperor Xia will give him the throne?" Therefore, Lin Gaoyuan believed that there was a high probability that the barbarians were really abnormal. As for whether there were 300,000, it was hard to say. It is also possible that the Northern King deliberately exaggerated the number of barbarian cavalry in order to obtain support from the court. All in all, the barbarians will indeed go south, but there may not necessarily be 300,000 barbarian soldiers. This is Lin Gaoyuan's guess. As soon as Lin Gaoyuan finished speaking, the eldest Prince Louis said, "Father, my son is willing to lead troops north to resist the barbarians." As soon as the eldest prince finished speaking, the second prince said angrily, "Brother, are you too anxious? It's not yet determined whether the barbarians will go south, but you want to lead the troops north. If you lead the troops, are you sure you will do it in the future? Is it to resist the barbarians?" Even when the barbarians invaded, there was always mutual criticism in the court, let alone the fact that the barbarians have not invaded yet. If a prince leads troops north and accumulates a reputation in the army, this will be very helpful in the fight for the right to inherit the throne. Therefore, any prince wants to fight for the opportunity to lead troops, and at the same time, he does not want other princes to lead troops north. After hearing what the second prince said, the eldest prince sneered, "Second brother, what do you mean? It is the responsibility of my royal family to resist the barbarians. Do you think I have ulterior motives?" Just when the second prince was about to continue speaking, Emperor Xia, who was sitting on the dragon chair, interrupted their conversation and said, "That's enough." Seeing Emperor Xia speak, the courtroom, which was originally as noisy as a vegetable market, instantly fell silent. Whether the barbarians really want to go south, this matter is confirmed by my shadow guards. Now you have to discuss how to deal with the barbarians going south. Seeing that Emperor Xia had said this, everyone stopped discussing whether this matter was true or false. Lu Xian's face looked a little ugly at this time. He originally thought that the barbarians going south would catch the northern king off guard, or that the barbarians going south would cover up the fact that the North King was assassinated by the Blood Moon Tower assassin. Unexpectedly, the Northern King noticed in advance that the barbarians were heading south, but it doesn't matter, King Bei probably doesn't have a few days to live anyway, and the Blood Moon Tower should have arrived in Yanqing by this time. He believed that with the leadership of Grandmaster Zhuola, even if the mysterious Grandmaster was present in Beiwang Mansion, he would not be able to protect Beiwang. What he should consider now is how to win the power to lead troops north. If he can lead his troops northward, according to his agreement with the barbarians, he can obtain some concessions from the barbarians, and then he can accumulate some reputation in the army, so that his success in seizing the throne will become greater. As for the surrender of Beijun to the barbarians, Lu Xian didn't care at all. All he cared about was his position as prince. Beijun is just a poor place. If the barbarians want it, give it to them. At this time, the eldest prince spoke again. Father, I believe that we should immediately mobilize the army to go north. Since the king of the north has used the red silk messenger, it means that the barbarians' march south is imminent. If the court sends troops too late, the 30,000 soldiers in Beijun will definitely not be able to stop the barbarians' 300,000 cavalry. As soon as the eldest prince finished speaking, the fourth prince also spoke in agreement. Father, my son and I also think that we should send troops north immediately. No prince wants to miss this opportunity to lead troops. Xia has not had such an opportunity for many years. This is their opportunity to establish a reputation in the army, and no prince wants to miss it. But at this moment, Lu Xian said, Father, I believe that Beijun is already the fiefdom of the Northern King. Naturally, it should be left to the Northern King to resist the barbarian invasion. If every time a foreign enemy invades the border, the court needs to send troops, what does the vassal king need to do? As soon as Lu Xian finished speaking, the man standing on the top right of the official said, Your Majesty, I think that the eighth prince is right. The vassal kings in the border areas are already responsible for resisting foreign enemies. They cannot do it every time there are foreign enemies. If we invade, let the imperial court send troops. Chapter 77 Military Expansion Order. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After hearing the words of Right Prime Minister Zhao Wenhan, Left Prime Minister Lin Gaoyuan laughed and said, The border vassal kings indeed have the responsibility to resist foreign invasion, but Beijun only has 30,000 troops. Could it be that Zhao Xiang thinks that the North King can use these 30,000 troops? Soldiers and horses to repel the barbarian invasion? Zhao Wenhan immediately said, I didn't say this. Having said this, Zhao Wenhan looked at Emperor Xia on the dragon throne again, and then continued, Your Majesty, Beijun is the first line of defense against the barbarians. The conventional 30,000 soldiers and horses are no longer enough to resist the barbarian invasion, so I think it's time to issue an order to expand the military in Beijun. As soon as Zhao Wenhan said these words, there was a lot of discussion in the court. Since Emperor Xia ascended the throne, in order to prevent the feudal kings from rebelling, he has issued a troop restriction order. In the fiefdom of a vassal king, there can be no more than how many soldiers according to the area of the land. The upper limit of the number of troops in Beijun is 50,000, which is why when Lu Chen said he wanted to recruit new troops, he only recruited 10,000 soldiers. There seems to be no problem with Zhao Wenhan's words. After all, Beijun is on the front line against the barbarians, so it is appropriate to give the North King more soldiers, but, once this started, other border vassal kings would use the same excuse to expand their armies. To resist the barbarians is to resist the invasion of foreign enemies. Then there are several major dynasties in other directions of the Xia Dynasty. Although there has been no war between these major dynasties for many years, who can say for sure what to do if one day a dynasty comes over? Beijun has expanded its army, and other border vassal kings will definitely ask for it. This will obviously cause a chain reaction. Moreover, once Beijun expands its army, other dynasties may suddenly attack Xia. Not all vassal kings are law-abiding, and it is not impossible to collude with foreign enemies and then use this as a bargaining chip to ask the court to issue an order to expand the army. Emperor Xia was not a fool. He also knew the consequences of issuing an order to expand the army to Beijun. However, Emperor Xia still spoke at this time and said, by decree, Beijun is the first line to resist the barbarian invasion. Beijun's 30,000 soldiers and horses are no longer enough to resist the barbarian invasion. From now on, the upper limit of the number of Beijun soldiers will be increased to 15 wan. In addition, the King of the North is the vassal king of the Beijun fiefdom. No matter what happens, the King of the North cannot escape and must stick to the Beijun. After hearing Emperor Xia's words, Zhao Wenhan immediately raised his hands and said, Your Majesty is wise. Emperor Xia glanced at Zhao Wenhan coldly, and then continued, Wang Shangshu, Chu Shangshu, Prime Minister Lin, and Prime Minister Zhao, the four of you will stay and retreat from the court. After saying that, Emperor Xia stood up from the dragon chair, waved his long sleeves on his dragon robe, turned around and left. Obviously, the expansion of the army in Beijun made Emperor Xia very uncomfortable, but he had to do it. Now that there are undercurrents surging within Daxia, it is impossible for Daxia to send hundreds of thousands of troops north to resist the barbarians. If we really send hundreds of thousands of troops northward, we will be destabilizing the country. Emperor Xia also saw that the barbarian invasion was most likely related to the aristocratic family. As for whether the prince was involved, it was unknown. Now is not the time to worry about this. Behind the war are all politics. If it is true, as the King of the North said in his letter, that the barbarians want to establish a country in Beijun, that is absolutely not allowed. Beijun is the gateway to Daxia. Once Beijun is occupied by the barbarian troops will direct their troops towards the capital in the future. Emperor Xia knew that to resolve this crisis, he not only had to compromise with the barbarians, but also with the aristocratic families. This made Emperor Xia feel very aggrieved. This was the most aggrieved time for him since he came to the throne. The main reason was that he had just reorganized Daxia's army, and the barbarians came south too suddenly, giving him no time to breathe. If he had waited another year, after Daxia's army had been reorganized, and he had sent troops north, those barbarian cavalry would have been nothing. It's a pity that there are not so many ifs. The top priority is to discuss how to resolve the crisis in North County. After Emperor Xia brought the four people he had just called to his study, he seriously discussed the matter of the barbarians going south. In the end, the result of their discussion was to promote peace talks. They would definitely send troops, but they would not send hundreds of thousands of troops northward. As for ceding the entire North County, that is impossible, but it is not completely without discussion. Part of the land in the North County can be given to the barbarians. Anyway, Beijun is the fiefdom of Beiwang. Beiwang is just a useless prince and can't control so much land. After discussing the specific things to do, Lin Gaoyuan left Emperor Xia's study directly. His face looked very ugly, and he was obviously very dissatisfied with the outcome of their discussion. Emperor Xia summoned 4 people in total. It turned out that one of the ministers of the Ministry of Revenue was from a well-known family, one of the ministers of the Ministry of War was also from a well-known family, and the right minister was a treacherous minister who only knew how to fight for power and profit. What good solution can the 3 of them come up with when they get together? It's nothing more than ceding territory for glory. After Lin Gaoyuan returned to the mansion, he became sulky and didn't speak for a long time. At this time, a man wearing armor entered the hall. After the man entered the hall, he immediately asked, "Dad, I heard that the barbarian army of 300,000 went south. Is this true or false?" That it was a big deal for the barbarians to move south, and the ministers who had just retreated couldn't help but talk about it everywhere. Soon Lin Xiuming, who was in the army, heard about it. Lin Xiuming is now the commander of the Qilin army, and he cares very much about war. After hearing his son's question, Lin Gaoyuan came to his senses, sighed and said, "I'm not sure whether it's true or not yet, but the North King used the red silk messenger, so it's most likely true." Lin Xiuming continued to ask, "Then what are your Majesty's plans?" Hearing this question, Lin Gaoyuan laughed. "Plan? Ha, he wants you to bring 70,000 elite troops north to help the Northern King fight the 300,000 barbarian army." What? Hearing his father's words, Lin Xiuming was stunned. Leading 70,000 elite soldiers to fight against the 300,000 barbarian army? Is this a joke? Since they are said to be elite soldiers, they must be fighting soldiers, but the 70,000 combat soldiers, plus the 30,000 soldiers in Beijun, are only 100,000 soldiers. 100,000 soldiers want to resist the barbarians' 300,000 cavalry. Lin Xiuming frowned. It was clear that the Xia dynasty could use about 500,000 soldiers, so why did it send 70,000 soldiers north? Lin Xiuming immediately asked, Dad, after His Majesty reorganizes the military camp, doesn't he have 500,000 soldiers who can be mobilized? Hearing his son's innocent question, Lin Gaoyuan chuckled again, and then said, 500,000. Your Majesty, do you dare to move these 500,000 soldiers? If these 500,000 soldiers move, Xia may be in chaos. Lin Gaoyuan didn't say too much about the deep-seated reasons. He said directly to Lin Xiuming, I don't want to say anything more. When His Majesty's edict comes, you will immediately lead your troops to Beijun to join the King of the North. When fighting, just try to hold back the barbarian cavalry. There is no need to fight them to the death. The real battlefield is not in Beijun, but in the court. After hearing Lin Gaoyuan's reminder, Lin Xiuming seemed to understand something, and then said, Okay, Dad, I understand what you mean. Beijun, Yancheng, a woman wearing a long black dress and holding a long sword was slowly advancing on the streets of Yancheng. The woman's face was as cold as ice, but extremely beautiful, like a goddess who could not eat the fireworks of the world. At this time, a speeding carriage passed by her, the wind blew open the curtains of the carriage, and a beautiful woman in white came into view. The woman in black on the roadside happened to have eyes crossed with the woman in white, but it was only for a moment. The carriage continued to move forward, leaving only the woman in black standing there, looking at the back of the carriage indifferently. Chapter 78 Lin Wanyun. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Beijun, Yancheng, on the carriage. After Chen Wanrong thought of the woman in black she saw just now, she immediately said to the beautiful woman in purple clothes beside her, Aunt Lin, have you seen that woman just now? Lin Wanyun immediately replied, I saw it. Chen Wanrong said expressionlessly, if I guessed correctly, that person should be someone close to Emperor Xia. A few years ago, Chen Wanrong had lurked into the palace for a long time, so she had a certain understanding of Emperor Xia's shadow guards. She could tell at a glance that the woman in black had fought against her before. Lin Wanyun pondered for a moment, and then said, I once saw this woman in Chu Yu's palace. This woman is most likely the shadow guard of Emperor Xia. Chen Wanrong continued, judging from the aura she exudes, she is at least at the level of a grandmaster. Emperor Xia would send a grandmaster to protect a useless prince. Don't you think it strange, Aunt Lin? After hearing Chen Wanrong's words, Lin Wanyun did not answer immediately. She naturally felt strange in her heart, but she really couldn't imagine why Emperor Xia would send a grandmaster to protect a useless prince. After a long while, Lin Wanyun finally said, So, the so-called mysterious master in the palace is that woman? Chen Wanrong fell into silence. Originally, she thought that when she came to Beijun this time, she could easily capture the North King, and then use the North King to create the dragon-spelling curse to deal with Emperor Xia in the future. They didn't expect to meet someone close to Emperor Xia here. If that were the case, it might not be that easy for them to implement their plan, although I don't know why Emperor Xia sent people to protect the useless Prince Bei Wang. Since he did so, there must be a reason. An hour later. North Palace, Chu Yuqin was patrolling the inner courtyard. Suddenly a female guard entered the courtyard, found Chu Yuqin and said, Mrs. Chu, someone is here from Xianyue Palace. Hearing this, Chu Yuqin was stunned for a moment and did not react for a while. After a while, she came back to her senses, looked at the female guard in front of her and asked, Xianyue Palace? What are the people from Xianyue Palace doing in Beiwang Mansion? The female guard replied, My subordinates don't know either, but one of the women said that she knows you and wants to meet you. Hearing what the female guard said, a woman's figure flashed in Chu Yuqin's mind. Then Chu Yuqin said, I understand, I'll go there right away. Immediately afterwards, Chu Yuqin followed the female guard to the entrance of the palace. At this time, a carriage was parked at the gate of Beiwang Mansion, and the people in the carriage had not yet got off. After Chu Yuqin arrived at the door of the palace, the curtain of the carriage opened, and a beautiful woman wearing purple clothes got out of the carriage. Seeing that the person coming was Lin Wanyun, Chu Yuqin's brain froze. And then she asked in surprise, Sister Lin, why did you come to Beijing? As Chu Yuqin spoke, she came to Lin Wanyun. Lin Wanyun did not answer Chu Yuqin's question immediately, but said with a gentle smile, Qiner, we haven't seen each other for many years. Chu Yuqin recalled, yes, we have never seen each other since you went to Xianyue Palace. Chu Yuqin glanced at the carriage, and then asked again, Sister Lin, why did you come to Beijing? Lin Wanyun replied, the palace master and I were passing by Beijing. I heard that you were also in Beijing, so I wanted to come and see you. Chu Yuqin was surprised when she heard Lin Wanyun's answer, then she looked at the carriage and asked, is the master of Xianyue Palace in the carriage? Lin Wanyun nodded, yeah. The palace owner of Xianyue Palace usually doesn't run around. When she leaves Xianyue Palace, it's usually because of some big event. Chu Yuqin did not expect to meet the master of Xianyue Palace in Beijing. Chu Yuqin said quickly at this time, Sister Lin, please wait a moment, I will go and tell Chener that you are here. At this point, Chu Yuqin was about to turn around and look for Lu Chen. Although Chu Yuqin knew that she had a high invisible status in the palace and Lu Chen also respected her, she would not make an unauthorized decision to let people into the palace without Lu Chen's permission. When someone comes to the palace, one must either notify the princess or the prince, Lu Chen. Just when Chu Yuqin turned around, Lu Chen happened to come out of the palace gate. Aunt Chu, I heard that a guest is here. That the guard at the door just now not only informed Chu Yuqin, but also told Lu Chen that someone was coming to the palace. After Lu Chen heard about it, he was a little curious about what kind of guests there could be in the Beiwang mansion, and then he came to the door to have a look. Seeing Chu Yuqin talking to a beautiful woman, Lu Chen's eyes lit up. This beautiful woman is wearing a purple cloud dress, her hair is tied high, and her hair is placed on Xiang's shoulders and placed on her chest. She looks graceful, dignified and elegant, and her manners are generous. Her beauty is as good as Chu Yuqin's. Lu Chen immediately used system identification, name, Lin Wanyun. Identity, the adopted daughter of Lin Gaoyuan, the left Prime Minister of Great Xia, later left the Lin family and joined the Xianyue Palace. She is a half-step master. She is 31 years old this year. She followed Chen Wanrong, the master of the Xianyue Palace, to Beijing, intending to use the blood of the North King to refine the dragon-subduing curse. Deal with Emperor Xia. Rating, 95. Favorability, 60, because you are her friend's son. Lu Chen was a little surprised when he saw the prompt in front of him. He didn't expect that a beautiful woman with a score of 95 came to his door, and she was also a friend of his mother. No wonder she looked so familiar with Chu Yuqin, but, although this woman's favorability towards him is not bad, she may not have good intentions when she comes this time. Although Lu Chen didn't know what the Fulong curse was, the system introduction showed that the opponent would use his own blood to refine it, and it would be used to deal with his father. Obviously, Xianyue Palace and the Xia Dynasty had a hostile relationship. At this time, Lu Chen's eyes fell on the carriage. Again, since this Lin Wanyun came with the master of Xianyue Palace, the evil master of Xianyue Palace should be in the carriage. Judging from the name that appeared in the system introduction just now, it seems that the master of Xianyue Palace is also a woman. At this time, Chu Yuqin's voice brought Lu Chen back to his senses. Chener, you just happen to be here. Let me introduce to you. This is your mother's sworn sister to Jinlan. Her name is Lin Wanyun, and she is the elder of Xianyue Palace. She went to Xianyue Palace not long after you were born, so you don't have met her. Upon hearing this, Lu Chen quickly came to the two of them. After seeing Lu Chen, Lin Wanyun immediately saluted and said, the daughter of the people has met the prince. Lu Chen smiled slightly and then said, you don't have to be so polite. You are my mother's sworn sister to Jinlan. According to this relationship, I should call you Aunt Lin. After hearing this, Lin Wanyun's favorability level increased by 5 points. Seeing this scene, Lu Chen couldn't help but think, is it so easy to increase this woman's favorability? So it seems that it would be easier to capture her. If a woman with a score of 95 points came to her door by herself, Lu Chen would definitely not be polite. At this moment, the curtain of the carriage slowly opened, and a beautiful figure in white clothes got out of the carriage. Chapter 79. Is this really the useless prince in the rumors? You are listening at novelfull.audio. After seeing the woman getting out of the car, Lu Chen stayed where he was. The woman's beautiful face is as cold as ice, she is dressed in white clothes that are better than snow, her skin is smooth and tender, her hair is tied in a bun, and there seems to be a plum blossom-like mark on her forehead. Her figure is graceful, and her whole person exudes a holy light, as if she is a fairy descending from the earth. Lu Chen immediately forgot to use the system to identify the woman's information. He didn't come back to his senses until the woman spoke. The daughter of the common people has met the prince. Although Chen Wanrong is the palace owner of Xianyue Palace is still under the control of Daxia in name, so when meeting the prince of Daxia, Chen Wanrong still needs to bow. Chen Wanrong's voice was clear and silent, with a special appeal that made people feel a little restless. After Lu Chen came to his senses, he stuttered and said, "No. No courtesy." Then Lu Chen immediately used the system to identify the information of the woman in front of him: name, Chen Wanrong, identity, the remnant of the Chen family, the princess of the Chen kingdom, the lord of the Xianyue Palace, 21 years old, at the level of a grandmaster. The main reason for coming to Beijing this time is to get close to the North King, use the love gu to control the North King, and then use the North King's blood to refine and subjugate him. The dragon curse dealt with Emperor Xia and avenged Chen Guo. Rating, 98. Favorability, 10. Seeing the score of 98, Lu Chen realized that it was a score of 98. He thought a 100% score for such a beautiful girl was not too much. You must know that Chu Yuqin's rating is 97. Think about it this way, for every point above 95, a woman's appearance will improve by several levels. Of course, Lu Chen didn't think Chen Wanrong was much prettier than Chu Yuqin. The key was the aura she exuded, as if she were a fairy. This was what attracted Lu Chen the most. After the excitement, Lu Chen quickly calmed down. Then Lu Chen smiled and said to Chen Wanrong, "It's an honor for me, Palace Master Chen, to come to my palace as a guest. Aunt Lin, Palace Master Chen, please come in." Seeing Lu Chen's eyes staring straight at Chen Wanrong, Lin Wanyun on the side sighed inwardly. She knew that King Bei was attracted by Chen Wanrong's beauty. I'm afraid that in less than 2 days, Chen Wanrong will be able to use the love gu on Bei Wang. At that time, Bei Wang will be completely controlled by Chen Wanrong and eventually become a tool for refining the dragon-subduing curse. As the younger sister of Chu Yu's former sworn brother, Lin Wanyun couldn't bear to see something happen to Lu Chen, but they had to use the Fulong curse to deal with Emperor Xia. Immediately afterwards, Lu Chen entered the palace with Chen Wanrong and Lin Wanyun. After entering the main courtyard of the palace, Lu Chen immediately asked the maid to make a pot of dragon and phoenix tea. After the tea came, Lu Chen personally poured a cup of tea for Lin Wanyun and Chen Wanrong, and then said, "Aunt Lin, Palace Master Chen, you have worked hard on the journey. This is the palace's unique tea. It can refresh the mind and relieve fatigue. You have a taste." Hearing Lu Chen's words, Lin Wanyun immediately picked up the tea cup, took a sip, and then used her inner strength to check whether there was anything in the tea she just drank. After the inspection was completed, Lin Wanyun took another sip. Lin Wanyun's two-step movement is relatively subtle and cannot be seen by most people, but Chen Wanrong can see it. After knowing that Lin Wanyun took a second sip, Chen Wanrong was convinced that there was nothing in the tea. Although this was in Beiwang Mansion, as the master of Xianyue Palace, Chen Wanrong was still cautious. After knowing that there was nothing in the tea, Chen Wanrong also raised her jade hand, picked up a cup of tea, and took a small sip. For a moment, Chen Wanrong felt a coolness pouring into her body, and then spread throughout her body, making her feel extremely comfortable. Chen Wanrong was a little surprised. She didn't expect the tea from Bai Wangfu to be really refreshing. Seeing that both Lin Wanyun and Chen Wanrong drank the dragon and phoenix tea, Lu Chen raised the corners of his mouth slightly, and then asked, "Miss Chen, Aunt Lin, what are you doing in Beijing this time?" After hearing this question, Lin Wanyun replied, "We just happened to pass by Beijing." Lu Chen pretended to look regretful and said, "It turns out that I was just passing through Beijing. It seems that you will be leaving Beijing soon." Lin Wanyun smiled and said, "Although we are passing by, the palace master and I also plan to stay in Beijing for a while." Lu Chen said calmly, I'm afraid this won't work. You will have to leave Beijing soon. Lin Wanyun asked curiously, why is this? Chu Yuqin said from the side, Sister Lin, the barbarian army will move south soon, and Chener's wife, concubines and children will soon leave Yancheng and go to Anping City. This is not a secret. The palace will announce it to the people of Quanbei County soon. By then, the people of the entire Bei County will know about the barbarians going south, so Chu Yuqin said it directly. Hearing Chu Yuqin's words, Lin Wanyun and Chen Wanrong were both slightly stunned. The two of them did not expect that they came at such an untimely time, and that the barbarians would actually go south at this time, but the barbarians going south didn't seem to have much impact on their plans, right? After all, a useless prince like Bei Wang should be greedy for life and afraid of death. If the barbarians go south, then Bei Wang should also flee south. They only need to follow Bei King. Lin Wanyun asked at this time, will the prince also go south with the people? Lu Chen smiled slightly, and then said, Beijun is my fiefdom, and I am the king of Beijun. How could I leave Beijun? I will fight the barbarians to the death in Yancheng and protect Beijun. Hearing Lu Chen's words, Chen Wanrong and Lin Wanyun were stunned again. They didn't expect that King Bei would have such courage. Aren't there rumors that King Bei is a good-for-nothing prince who spends all day having fun in the palace? How could a useless prince have such an awareness? Or is it that this time the barbarians went south? They actually didn't have many soldiers, they just went south to plunder and grab some food as usual, so the northern king was not worried that the barbarian cavalry would attack Yancheng, so he was confident. At this time, Chen Wanrong asked, My lord, I wonder how many barbarian soldiers the barbarians sent south this time. Lu Chen replied, according to the intelligence we collected, the barbarians went south this time to establish a country in Beijun, so they sent 300,000 cavalry. They plan to occupy Beijun and use Yancheng as their capital. As soon as these words came out, Chen Wanrong frowned slightly. 300,000 troops. From the information she knew, Beijun only had 30,000 soldiers. Under such circumstances, the northern king did not plan to flee south, but instead said that he would fight to the death with the barbarians in Yancheng. 30,000 versus 300,000, this is a war with no chance of winning. Is this really the useless prince in the rumors? This kind of courage alone is much better than those dignitaries in the capital who only know how to eat, drink and have fun all day long. Just after meeting Bei Wang, Chen Wanrong had a great change in her heart towards Lu Chen. She thought that there might be something wrong with their information about Xianyue Palace. King Bei would definitely not be the man who was known to have fun in the palace all day long as rumored. Lin Wanqing changed her name to Lin Wanyun.